All right, ladies and gentlemen, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. I hope everybody's doing well. All right. It's Christmas, which is phenomenal. It's just around the corner where we see great presents or we spend time with beautiful people, friends, family. Well, but most important, thank you for being here today with us on the Rum Lab channel at Zavi.co. We have a special presentation. I'm super excited for what's happening on today, especially that I got two friends or new friends here that are also Latinos, and but they went out and created this venture to start distillery in Cambodia. But really quickly, if you're here for the first time, thank you for joining us. This to your right, I already see some activities. Thank you very much for the different people that are participating here already. Chris, Dave, Brad, good morning. Simon, nice to meet you. I've seen already your comments, which is phenomenal. If you have any questions, you're going to see in the very bottom area of the screen that says ask questions. Make sure we'll try to go through them at the very end. And feel free, as many questions as possible. This is not only us talking, the ideas that we kind of talk to you through your questions. If you can share the event, let's bring on more people. If you're watching us right now through the internet or through Facebook, or through YouTube, come to Zavvy.co. That's ZAVVY.co. So you can participate from this live stream right now. If you are watching us later, thank you. Today's agenda is going to be 30-40 minutes. I think it's going to be a little bit more. We're talking about the main presentation. Then we're going to go through 1 or 2 minutes talking about contact information. And then if we have some time, I'm sure we'll put it on some time for day. We'll go through our Rum O'Clock Q&A. All right. Really quickly, today's main topic, Cambodia's Samai Distillery tour. We got two special guests. In the image, I put a third person. And Antonio, who's one of our guests, basically will be able to talk about her. But we have Antonio and Danielle. Danielle actually lives in Cambodia, and so right now is I don't know what time in the morning over there or in the evening. So we pre-recorded a lot of everything that he said, but we did a pretty good recording. All right, enough said. Let me bring on Antonio. Antonio, how you doing today?
Hey, Federico, how you doing? I'm very good, very good. Thank you. Good evening. I'm right now in Madrid, so it's 9 p.m. And so good evening, good afternoon, good morning to some of you. Fede, well, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. It is a great pleasure for Danielle and me to both be here. So Danielle is in Cambodia at the moment. It's 3 a.m. there, so. So we're going to be mixing back and forth with Danielle, who pre-recorded the distillery tour today, and me here to kind of to answer any questions that you may have and have a conversation. Yeah. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, today both Danielle and Antonio, we had them featured as the interview of the week. And if you go to rumlab.com, you can go to the different interviews and see the interviews here. You see a great picture of this handsome man, just Antonio here. And then at the same thing, you'll be able to see Danielle's interview. I did scroll out pretty quickly because there are 2 interviews and it's a lot of content. So as again, you can go to rumlab.com. I actually put a green button that you can click on it and it will take you to the interview directly. Or to our website. All right, Antonio, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and I actually don't know if Danielle talks about himself in one of the videos, but if you can give us a little intro, how do you guys met, and how do you guys ended up in the rum industry?
Sure. I mean, the story, as you can imagine, is a bit funny, right? When you know that 2 Venezuelan guys in Cambodia, doing rum. So actually, we met, Daniel and me, we met in high school. So we used to know each other from high school back in Caracas when we were teenagers, right? And but we ended up reconnecting in in Cambodia by coincidence, right? So he was actually, I think there is a video where he talks a little bit about his story, where he went for a 3-month internship in Cambodia, and fast forward 14 years, and he's still there. And for me, I've been there for 12 or 13 years as well in Cambodia. So I was living before that in Singapore, where I studied an MBA at the National University of Singapore, and I went to Cambodia as a tourist and stayed. That's actually a very common story. A lot of our friends, the expat community in Cambodia, funny, it's like this. Like everybody came to visit their brother for a week, and I've been here for 5 years. Like so I went as a tourist and eventually stayed for 13 years, right? So yeah, my background is hospitality management. So I used to work for hotels. I used to own a few restaurants and bars that I I started myself and managed. So it's 13 years in Cambodia doing bars, restaurants. Before that, I was in Singapore for 3 years, where I had a restaurant as well, restaurant bar, and studied my MBA. Before that, I was in China for almost 3 years working for hotels and trying to learn Chinese, which I kind of did, but I think I lost it. So yeah, that's kind of my story, and being in Cambodia, which we'll go more into details later on, but being in Cambodia, noticing that there's a lot of sugarcane. Actually, when you go in traveling around the provinces of Cambodia, you see sugarcane plantations on the left and on the right. When you are in the city center of Phnom Penh, which is the capital, or you are in Siem Reap, or in any city, in any market, they are making the fresh sugarcane juice, in every corner. So we were like, okay, there's sugarcane everywhere. It's we kind of learned afterwards that it's the molasses that we find there are extremely high quality, and no one is making rum, right? So we were like, okay, this kind of doesn't make sense, Us from Venezuela, we're kind of that's in part of our culture, right? We grow up, that's the spirit of choice, right? That's the national spirit, right? And of course, which Venezuelan doesn't love a Venezuelan rum, right? So we were kind of like in shock, that the raw material is there and there's no rum. So we kind of started saying as a joke, okay, let's build a distillery. Of course, it's as a joke when I'm in the hospitality and Daniel is an engineer, right? But voila, fast forward 6 years after we were talking about that, and we actually built Cambodia's first rum distillery, and we're still the only rum distillery there that it's a brand. Let's say the only brand that is making premium rum that is aged. That now we're exporting, right? So not only in Cambodia, but we are in Singapore and France for the last 3 years. And Spain, we just entered this year in a very, very bad timing, but we're here, yeah. So,
and how did you? Well, two questions.
Yeah.
And how come you ended up in Madrid?
So I'm in Madrid right now, yeah. So I've been here since February. I came in February. The idea was to come for only 2 months. But then that was, the timing. I don't even have to explain what happened this year, but I'm sure you know. So yeah, so the pandemic started once we arrived back here in Madrid, and then the restrictions started, the quarantine and all this stuff. So I'm still stuck here, right? So I've been able to travel a little bit around Europe, but I haven't been able to be back in Cambodia, because Cambodia, they have been very, very good at controlling the pandemic. I think they have had something like 300 cases total, since the beginning, which is kind of crazy numbers. Yeah. Are they hiding numbers? That's also an option, but let's say that they have been kind of controlling it very well, which means also that to enter Cambodia is extremely tough, right? So and extremely expensive, right? So I'm here. I'm here. My family lives here, so I'm lucky as well that I have a home here in Madrid. It's so at least I'm lucky about that I was not just stranded.
Exactly.
But so that's what I'm doing here. I'm actually a resident of Spain. So I do go, even before this happened, I normally spend half the year in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, and half the year in Spain. So normally Phnom Penh and Madrid. So I've been doing actually this for the last 2 years. It's just that normally it's like 3 months, not almost a year. Yeah.
So the second question is, what's the drinking or the culture in Cambodia in regards to drinking alcohol or drinking rum?
So for drinking rum, I mean, we as being the first rum distillery there, we introduced this, for the first time. I mean, for the first year, it was extremely tough because people will not know what rum is, right? So over there, what they drink a lot, I mean, beer, but that's not a spirit, but beer is I think they're one of the biggest drinkers of beer in Southeast Asia, right, per capita. But then they also have the rice wines and the rice spirits, right? So they do a fermentation of rice and they distill the rice. Fermentation is a completely different process, right? And they do that a lot, but there's not a brand, like when they drink. So the alcohol, the spirit that they drink the most is a rice spirit, but there's no brands. It's like they bottle them in random plastic recycled bottles. Water bottles, Coca-Cola bottles, like you name it, and they will actually fill them with this rice spirit, and that's how they sell it, right? So it's kind of dangerous because they don't have the proper cuts, of the heads, the hearts, the tails. They really don't do that, right? So it's kind of like dodgy and dangerous, right? So as a distillery, we're kind of like the first one, right, to be a branded kind of spirit from Cambodia. So the first years, like people would call it whiskey. They would say, okay, Samai is a whiskey. They didn't know that what rum really means. Some people even call it wine still, because in Cambodia, even whiskey is something kind of new, so they will call it wine. They call wine for all the spirits, right? So, but something that we're kind of like proud of, that we kind of planned from the beginning, is that we built our distillery in the city center of Phnom Penh, and our distillery is open every Thursday nights for the public, right, as a bar. So what the idea with this was to kind of bring people in on Thursday nights and give them a whole tour, which is a tour that everybody will see today with Danielle. So we bring them into the fermentation room, into the distillation and aging, and we give them the whole experience. So after 6 years doing that, we kind of have created this connection and this kind of educational program, if you want to say, to kind of explain what Samai is. People are learning. I mean, what rum is, and people are learning the whole process of production, right? So that has helped a lot to kind of introduce rum into Cambodia. Sorry,
Sorry, I'm in mute. I was in mute.
Sure.
Is there like Bacardi rum or no?
In Cambodia, yes. So that's the thing. When we started this project, you could only find Bacardi, Havana Club 3 years, and then suddenly Zacapa came, and that was like, whoa, So that was actually 7 years ago when we started this idea, because that was literally when you go to bars, you will find Bacardi White, Havana 3 years, and Zacapa, and that was like Zacapa was new at that time, So that's how also that was one of our kind of inspirations to say, like, okay, come on, like there's not even imported rums in Cambodia, right? I mean, this is like a great chance for us, and maybe that's why people didn't know much about rum, right? In general. So, and we have had to kind of not only about rum, but also about Cambodian products. We have had to kind of deal with this wall about the perception of quality of Cambodian products, right? So So Cambodia, I mean, besides the Kampot pepper, which we're going to talk about it later as well, which is considered one of the best peppers in the world, right? Besides that, the Cambodia is not, let's say, known for producing premium quality products, right? So that's also another thing that we had to kind of, this wall that we had to kind of go over, which was there was no rum in Cambodia, so nobody knew about rum. And then when you talk about Samai rum, Cambodian rum, even Cambodian people will be like, what? That's probably terrible. Like that's like Cambodian rum, like even if they have never heard of it or tried it, they would have this kind of wall, which I not only in Cambodia, but a lot of people will experience that. A lot of people outside of Cambodia, when you say Cambodian rum, they go like, what the hell is this, right?
Yeah.
So the first 3 years was tough, for us. But then I guess, we actually like, we were able to create a very high quality product. We have sent it to all the international blind tasting competitions where we have won awards. So, and when it's a blind tasting, it's good, right? Because you're competing against legit, let's say, rums, right? Like distilleries of over 100 years old, and we have been able to kind of get awards up to the double gold medals, right? Which is the highest award you can get. So I think it took years, but now we have been able to kind of cross that wall of like people knowing that like we have put Cambodia in the world rum map, and it was tough, but I guess we made it. Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, Antonio, let's go. Let's start playing some videos where we introduce as well as Danielle. Let's make this happen. All right, we'll start with video number 1.
Hola Fede, hola Antonio. Hi everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to say hello. I'm super excited to get a chance to show you guys around the distillery and tell you a little bit more about what we do here at the distillery. As you can tell here, I'm based in Phnom Penh. This is our distillery where everything happens. I'll get a chance to walk you through it in a little bit. But just wanted to say hello. So I'm gonna send you guys back to Fede and Antonio for now. And of course, in case you guys couldn't tell already, this is a pre-recorded video from my side, because by the time the interview airs, I think it will be like 3, 4 in the morning here. And by that time, I'll be very happily asleep. But you're in good hands with Antonio and Fede. I'm sure they can answer all the questions you guys have. And please stay in touch. Anyways, I will talk to you guys in a few minutes. Bye.
All right. So first of all, we have Jackson Ziv saying hi, Antonio. Soksabai.
Okay, that's Cambodian language. Yeah, that's like hello, how are you?
I'm in Rhode Island. Thank you for putting Cambodia into the market, Antonio. Hey, Danielle, how are you? We have Mark, Marlon, Christina Wolf joining us as well. They're writing comments, which is phenomenal. If you're also here participating, please let us know where you're from so we can share it with Antonio. And if Danielle's, I'm sure he's going to see this later and he'll be able to feel a lot of joy. So I'm going to go to video number 2.
Hi guys, welcome back. Hope you guys had a good chat. As you can see, while you guys were talking, I came over to our bar. This is here at the distillery. We open this place every Thursday to the public. So if you guys are ever down in Cambodia, please come visit us, say hello, have a drink. But anyways, that's not the point of this video. Really, before we go in, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about myself. So if you don't know, my name is Daniel. I am one of the founders of Samai. I actually came here almost 11 years ago, which is very shocking to say out loud. Because yeah, when I first came, this was supposed to be a short-term kind of trip for a project. And anyways, long story short, about 6 years ago, with a few friends, including Antonio, we kind of were missing some of these nice rums that you could find in other places. We're both from Venezuela, so we grew up drinking some nice rums. And being based in Cambodia, especially back then, it was very hard to find, right? So with that in mind, and we started looking around the country, and it was crazy to see that there were sugarcane plantations literally in every province in the country, but nobody was making rum, right? And that was really kind of the spark that kind of started this whole adventure, and how we really set out to start Cambodia's first rum distillery, right? Anyways, here we are after 11 years, myself, and after 6 years with the distillery. Very happy to be sharing this with you guys. I'm sure Antonio will tell you a lot more details about the story and how we started, but I'll send it back to him, and I'll kind of wait for you guys for the tour. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye.
All right, excellent. That's phenomenal. The Antonio is so Cambodia. When I was asking about the culture, about spirits and drinking, is it? You mentioned that they drink a lot of white wine, beer and rice wine, but is it like, for me, like when I was in India years ago, drinking was not very popular because a lot of people are they like to like it's very spiritual. Is Cambodia that way? Because there's a lot of like spirituality, and that's why there's not a drinking pattern, or it's just like there's period. There was just not a lot of alcohol, and people like to drink. The only options that they had was beer and wine, rice wine.
Yeah, I mean, Cambodia is a very Buddhist country, right? So, I mean, Cambodia has this, like, well, you know, when you're walking around the streets, is you have this kind of vision, you know, when you see these beautiful pictures of like monks in the orange.
Yeah.
I mean, that you see it everywhere. You see temples everywhere, the chanting happening everywhere, but people drink like crazy, right? So it doesn't affect at all. I mean, Cambodia is a country that, as mentioned before, you know, I think is one of the highest consumption of beer, you know, per capita in Southeast Asia. I mean, I could be wrong, but I read a report I think a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, said something like that, and they drink a lot of this white spirits as well. So mainly because their national spirit, let's say,